Hello friends, in this session I discussed about big data and Hadoop. Before I start this session, first I explain what is big data, why it is important for you to understand what is big data. For that, first you need to understand what is data. So, data can be defined as the figures or facts which can be stored in or can be used by a computer. Now, I explain what is big data. So, big data is a term that is used for denoting the collection of data sets that are large and complex, making it very difficult to process using legacy data processing applications. So basically our legacy or traditional systems can't process a large amount of data in one go. But how will you classify the data that is problematic and hard to process? These Hadoop tutorials will give you in-depth knowledge about what is big data and Hadoop. So first, I categorize a big data. Since you have learned what is big data, it is important for you to understand how can data be categorized as big data. Well, for that we have 5 Vs. So first is volume. Volume means the sheer volume of data being generated every seconds. Next is variant, means a combination of data types that are being dumped into the system. Next is velocity, means the speed at which data is emerging and change are occurring between device of data set. Next is value. Value means the value that can be derived from accessing and analyzing big data. Next is veracity, means descriptions found in data. Now I explains every term in details. So first is volume. This refers to the data that is tremendously large, as you can see from the image. The volume of data is rising exponentially. In 2016, data created was only 8 ZB and it is expanded that by 2020 the data volume rise up to 40 ZB, which is extremely large. Now, next is variety, means a reason for this rapid growth of data volume is that the data is coming from different sources in various formats. So, data is categorized like structure, semi-structure, key structure, and unstructured. Now, I explain this data in deep. Like first is structured data. Means here data is present in a structured schema along with all the required columns. It is in a structure or tabular format. Data that is stored in a relational database management system is an example of structured data. So, for example, in the given employee table, which is present in a database, the data is in a structure format. Now, next is semi-structured data. Means in this form of data, the schema is not properly defined, or we can say both forms of data is present. So basically, semi-structured data has a structured form, but it does not define. So example of JSON, XML, CSV, ESV, and email. The web application data, that is structure containing transactions, history files, log files, etc. And OLTP systems, or we can say online transaction processing, are built to work with structured data. And the data is stored in relationships, or we can say in the tables. So next is unstructured data. In this data format, all the unstructured files such as video file, log file, audio file, and image file are included. Any data which has an unfamiliar model or structure is categorized as unstructured data. Since the size is large, unstructured data processes various challenges in terms of processing for deriving volume out of it. An example for this is a complex data source that contains a blend of text file, videos, and image. Several organizations have a lot of data available with them, but this organization does not know how to derive volume out of it since the data is in its raw forms. Next is quiz data structures. So this data format consists of textual data with inconsistent data formats that can be formatted with efforts and time and with the help of several tools. For examples, web server logs, or we can say a log file that is automatically created and maintained by some server which contains a list of activities. Now, next VS is velocity. So the speed of data accumulation also play a role in determining whether the data is categorized into big data or normal data. So as can you see from the image, at first mainframe were used wherein fewer people used computers. Then comes the client server model and more computers were involved. After this, the web application come into the picture and start increasing over the internet. Then everyone being used these applications. These applications were then used by more and more devices such as mobile as they were very easy to access. Here lots of data we have utilized. As it is clear from the image, every 16 seconds so much data is generated. Now next one is value. How will the extraction of data work here out? Fourth VS comes in this, which deals with the mechanism to bring out the correct meaning out of data. First of all, you need to mine the data, or we can say a process to turn raw data into useful data. Then an analysis is done on the data that you have cleaned or retrieve out of the raw data. Then you need to make sure whether analysis you have done benefits your business, such as in finding out insights, result, or etc., which were not possible easier. You need to make sure that whatever raw data you are given, you have cleaned it to use for deriving business insights. After you have cleaned the data, the challenge pops, or we can say during the process of dumping a huge amount of data, some packages might have lost. So for resolving this issue, our next P comes in the picture. And next PS is veracity, means since the package gets lost during the executions, we need to start again from the stage of mining raw data in order to convert them into valuable data. and this process goes on. Also, there will be uncertainty and inconsistency in the data. To overcome this, our last V comes into the place, or we can say is veracity. Veracity means the un veracity means the trustworthiness and quality of data. It is necessary that the veracity of the data is maintained. For example, think about Facebook post with hashtags, abbreviations, image, video, etc., which make them unreliable and hamper the quality of the content. Collecting loads and loads of data is of no use if the quality and trustworthiness of the data is not up to the mark. Now that you have sure idea what is the big data, let's check out the major sector using big data, and every day we have that use. So now I have explained the major sector using big data. So first is banking. Since there is a massive amount of data that is flowing in from innumerable source, banks needs to find uncommon and unconventional way in order to manage big data. It's also essential to examine customers' requirements, render servicing according to their specifications, and reduce risk while sustaining regularity complaints. Financial institutes have to deal with big data analytics in order to solve these problems. So in government agency, utilize big data and have devised a lot of running agency, managing utilities, dealing with traffic jams, or limiting the efforts of crime. However, a part of this benefiting big data, the government also address the concern of transparency and privacy. Here I show you one example like Aadhaar card. The Indian government has a record of all 1.21 billions of citizens. This huge data is stored and analyzed to find out several things, such as the number of youth in the country, according to which several schemas are made to target the maximum populations. All this big data can't be stored in some traditional database. So it is left for storing and analyzing using several big data analytics tools. Next is educations. Education concerning big data produce a visual impacts on students, school systems, and curriculums. With interpreting big data, people can ensure students' growth, identify at-risk students, and achieve and improvise systems for the evaluation and assistance of principals and teachers. For example, the education sectors holds a lots of informations with regards to curriculums, students, and faculties. The information is analyzed to get insights that can enhance the operational adequacies of the education organizations. Collecting and analyzing informations of a students such as attendance, test score, grades, and other issues take up a lots of data. So big data makes an approach for progressive framework where in this data can store and analyze, making it easier for the institutes to work with. Now, big data in healthcare. When it comes to what big data is in healthcare, we can see that it is being used extremely. It includes collecting data, analyzing it, Delivering it from customers. Also, patients' clinical data is too complex to be solved or understood by traditional systems. Since big data is processed by machine learning algorithms and data science, tracking such huge data become manageable. Example, nowadays doctors relay most of patients' clinical records, which means that a lots of data need to be gathered. That too for different patients. Obviously, it is not possible for old or traditional data storage methods to store this data since there is a large amount of data coming from different sources in various formats. They need to handle this large amount of data is increase, and that is why the big data approach is needed. Now next is e-commerce. Maintaining customer relationship is the most important in e-commerce industries. E-commerce websites have different marketing ideas to retail their merchandise to their customers, to manage transactions, and to implement better tactics of using innovative ideas with big data to improve business. Example like Flipkart is a huge e-commerce website dealing with lots of traffic on the daily basis. But when there is a pre-announcements of sales on Flipkart, traffic goes extraordinarily high. That actually creates the websites. So to handle these kinds of traffic and data, Flipkart use big data. Big data can actually help in organization and analyzing the data for further use. Now next is social media. Social media in the current scenario is considered as the largest data gatherers or generators. The sets has shown that around 500 plus terabytes of new data get generated into the database of social media every day, particularly in the case of Facebooks. The data generated mainly contains of videos, photos, message exchange, etc. A single activity on any social media sites generates a lots of data, which is again stored and gets processed whenever required. Since the data stored in the terabyte, it would take a lots of time for processing if it is done by our legacy systems. Big data is a solution to this problem. So now I explains why is big data so important. Although big data may not immediate kill your business, ignoring it for a long period for the solutions. The impact of big data on your business should be measures to make it easy to determine a return on investment. So big data is a problem definitely worth looking into. Whenever you visit a website, you might have noticed that on the right panel or top panel or somewhere on the screen, you will find a recommendations field, which is basically an advertisement that is related to your preferences. How does the advertisement come? Know that you would be interested in it. Well, everything you surf on the internet is stored and all this data is analyzed properly so that whatever you are surfing for your interest is come up. Obviously, you will be interested in that particular advertisement and you will be suffering further. But mind you, the amount of data generated for a single user is so huge that is considered as a big data. So you can see the image. So the two advertisement popping up. So here, have you even noticed when you go to the YouTube, YouTube know what kind of videos you would like to watch and what you must be looking for the next. Similarly, Amazon shows you the types of products you must be looking to buy. Even if you would have a search for a pair of the earphones, you will keep on getting the recommendations of earphones again and again. That's to on the different websites. So how this happened? So it's happened because of the big data analytics. So I explain what is big data analytics. Big data analytics examine large and different types of data in order to uncover the hidden patterns, insights, and correlationships. Basically, big data analytics is helping large companies facilitate their growth and development, and its measure includes applying various data mining algorithm on a certain database. So how this big data analytics use today's? So big data analytics is used in a number of industries to allow organizations and companies to make better decisions as well as a variety and disprove existence theories or models. The focus of data analytics line is inference, which is the process of deriving conclusions that are slowly based on what the researchers already done. So let us now see the few of the big data analytics tools. So here you can see the tools for big data analytics. So here you can see the Apache Hadoop. So this means the big data Hadoop is a framework that allows you to store big data in a distributed environment for parallel processing. Next is Apache Peak. Means Apache Peak is a platform that is used for analyzing large data set by representing them as data flows. Peak is basically designed in order to provide an abstraction over MapReduce, which reduces the complexities for writing a MapReduce program. Next is Apache HBase. This is a multi-dimensional distributed open source and NoSQL database written in Java in this form. So it runs on top of the HDFS providing big data like capability of Hadoop. Next is Apache Spark. Means is an open source general purpose cluster computing framework. It provides an interface for programming all clusters with implicit data parallelisms and fault tolerance. Next is Talend. Means is an open source data integration platform. It provides many services for enterprise applications, integrations, data integration, data management, cloud storage, data quality, and big data. Next is Splunk. Is an American company that produces software for monitoring, searching, and analyzing machine-generated data using a web-style interface. Next is Apache Hue. Means is a data warehouse system development on top of Hadoop and is used for interpreting structured and semi-structured data. Next is Kafka. Is a distributed managing systems that was initially developed at LinkedIn and later become a part of the Apache project. Kafka is a agile, fast, scalable, and distributed by designer. So I hope you can understood the basic knowledge about these tools. Now I explain benefits of big data analytics. So big data analytics is indeed to revolution in the field of information technology. The use of data analytics by various companies is increasing every year. The primary focus of them is on their customers. So the field is flourishing in business to customer, or we can say B2C applications. So what is big data sessions would not be complete here without the talking of why Hadoop should be chosen among others. So let us see for why Apache Hadoop. Most database management systems are not up to mark for operating at such lofty level of big data requirements, either due to the sheer technical interface or the challenging financial challenge or others. When the type of data is unstructured, the volume of data is huge and the result need as a uncompromisable speed. Then the only platform that can effectively stands up to the challenge is Apache Hadoop. So Hadoop owns its runaway success to a processing framework MapReduce that is central to its existence. MapReduce technology lets ordinary programmers contribute their part where large data sets are divided and are independently processed in parallel. These coders needs not know the nuance of high performance computings. With MapReduce, they can work efficiently without having to worry about intra-customer complexity, monitorings of tasks, node failure management, and so on. So now I explain the Hadoop architectures. Apache Hadoop was developed with the goal of having an inexpensive, redundant data store that would enable organization to leverage big data analytics economically and increasing the profitables of the business. A Hadoop architecture designs need to have several design factors in terms of networking, computing power, and storage. Hadoop provides a reliable, scalable, flexible, and distributed computing big data framework. Hadoop follows a master-slave architecture for storing data and data processing. This master-slave architecture has master node and slave node as shown in the image. Let's first look at each terminology before we start with understanding the architecture. So first is name node. So name node is basically a master node that acts like a monitor and supervise operations performed by data nodes. Next is secondary name node, means a secondary name node plays a virtual role in case if there is some technical issue in the name node. Next is data node, means data node is the slave node that stores all file and processes. Next is mapper. Mapper maps data for file in the data nodes. It will go to every data node and run a particular sets of codes or operation in order to get the work done. Next is reducer, means while a mapper runs a code, reducer is required for getting the results for each mapper. Next is job tracker, means the job tracker is a master node used for getting the location of a file in different data nodes. It is a very important service in Hadoop, as if it is go down, all the running jobs will get halted. Next is task tracker. Means task tracker is a references for the job tracker present in the data nodes. It accepts different tasks such as map, reduce, and shuffle operations from the job tracker. It is a key player performing the main map reduce functions. Next is block. Block is a small unit wherein the file are split. It has a default size of 64 MB and can be increased as needed. Next is cluster. Cluster is a set of machines such as data node, name node, secondary name node, etc. Now, here is a rough sketch of Hadoop architectures. So, there are two layers in the Hadoop architecture. First, we will see how data is stored in Hadoop, and then we will move on how it is proceed. While talking about the storage of file in Hadoop, HDFS comes to place. So in the next slides on the Hadoop architecture, let's talk about each layer in the Hadoop architecture. So first is HDFS, means Hadoop Distributed File Systems. So HDFS is based on Google File Systems, or we can say GFS, that provide a distributed system particularly designed to run on commodity hardware. The file system has several similarities with the existing distributed file systems. However, HDFS goes stand out among all of them. This is because it is fault tolerance and is specially designed for developing on low-cost hardware. HDFS is similarly responsible for talking or take care of the storage part of Hadoop application. So, if you have 100 MB files that need to be stored in the file system, then in HDFS, this file will be split into chunks, or we can say block. The default size of each block in Hadoop 1 is 64 MB. On the other hand, in Hadoop 2, it is 128 MB. So for the example, in Hadoop version 1, if we have 100 MB file, it will be divided into 64 MB storage in one block and 36 MB in the another block. So each block is a given unique name like block underscore n. So n is any number. So each block is uploaded to one data node in the cluster. On each of the machine or cluster, there is something called a daemon or piece of the software that runs in the background. So now I explain the daemons of HDFS that include the following. So first is name node. So it is the master node that maintaining or manage all the data. It points to data node and retrieve data from them. The file system data is stored on the name node. Next is secondary name node. So it is the master node and is responsible for keeping the checkpoints of the file system, metadata that is presents on the name node. Next is data node. Means data node have applications data that is stored on the server. It is the slave node that basically has all the data of the file in the form of blocks. So as we know, HDFS stores the application data and the file individually on the decided server. The file content is replicated by HDFS on various data nodes based on the replication factor to assure the authenticity of the data. The data node and the name node communication with each other using TCP protocol. Now I explain MapReduce layer. So MapReduce is a patented software framework introduced by Google to support distributed computing on large data set on clusters of computers. It is basically an operative programming model that runs in the Hadoop background, providing simplicity, scalability, recovery, and speed, including easy solution for data processing. So this MapReduce framework is proficient in processing a tremendous amount of data parallelly on large cluster of computational node. MapReduce is a programming model that allows you to process your data across an entire cluster. It basically consists of mappers and reducer that are different scripts you write or different function you might use when writing a MapReduce program. Mapper have a ability to transfer your data in parallel across your computing cluster in a very efficient manner, whereas reducer are responsible for aggregating your data together. Mappers and reducer put together can be used to solve complex programs. Now you can see the working of MapReduce architecture. So the job of MapReduce starts when a client submits a file. The file first goes to the job tracker. It combines reduce functions with location for input and output data. When a file is received, the job tracker sends a request to name node that has a location of the data node. The name node will send the location to job tracker. Next, the job tracker will go to the location in the data node. Then the job tracker present in data node send the request to the selected trackers. Next, the processing of map phase B. In this phase, the task tracker retrieves all the inputs data for each record. A map function is invoked which has been parsed by the input format, producing key volume pair in the memory buffer. Sorting the memory buffer is done next, wherein different reducer nodes are stored by invoking a function called combine. When the map task is completed, the job tracker gets a notification from the task tracker for the same. So this way the MapReduce architecture is work. So the question is, how does Hadoop work? So Hadoop runs codes across the cluster of computers and performs the below tasks. So data is initially divided into files and directories. Files are then divided into consistent size blocks ranging from 128 MB in Hadoop 2 to 64 MB in Hadoop 1. Then the files are distributed across various cluster nodes for further processing of data. So next, the job tracker starts its scheduling program on individual module. Once all the nodes are done with scheduling, the output is returned. So data from HDFS is consumed through MapReduce application. HDFS is also responsible for multiple replicants of data blocks that are created along with the distributed of nodes in the cluster, which enables reliable and extremely quick computations. So I explain this work with the help of figure. So in the first steps, the file is divided into blocks and it's stored in different data node. If a job request is generated, it is directed to the job tracker. Next is the job tracker does not really know the location of the file. So it contact with the name node for this. Next, the name node will now find the location and give it to the job tracker for further processing. Next, now since the job tracker knows the location for the blocks of the request file, it will contact the task tracker present on the particular data node for the data file. Next and final, the task tracker will now send the data it has to the job tracker. Finally, job tracker will collect the data and send it back to the requested source. So I hope you can understand how the Hadoop is work. So thank you friends watching this video. I hope you can understand the concept of big data and Hadoop. Thank you.